patron deity. Each household has its own protective spirits. You're supposed to pray to all of them, make offerings to all of them, keep all of them happy all of the time, which is, let's be honest, exhausting and impossible. But you try anyway, because the alternative is divine punishment, and that's not theoretical. When bad things happen, and bad things happen constantly, it's because you or someone in your city angered a god. Drought, you didn't sacrifice enough sheep. Flood, someone committed a sin, and the gods are collectively punishing everyone. Disease, the gods sent demons to afflict you. Everything is the gods' fault. Or rather, everything is your fault for not pleasing the gods properly. It's a system that keeps the priests very, very powerful. You reach your assigned work area near the base of the ziggurat. Your job today is helping to transport offerings from the courtyard up to the temple at the top. People bring offerings all day, every day. Food, drink, woven cloth, tools, sometimes animals. All of it goes to the gods, which really means it goes to the priests, who consume it on behalf of the gods because, you know, the gods can't actually eat solid food. Convenient. The stairs up the ziggurat are steep, really steep. Each platform has its own staircase connecting to the next level. You're carrying a large basket of bread. Someone behind you is carrying a jar of beer. Someone else has a live chicken, which is not happy about being carried up a giant pyramid in a 110-degree heat. Can't say I blame the chicken. Each level of the ziggurat serves a different function. The lower levels have storage rooms, administrative offices, and smaller shrines. The middle levels have priests' quarters and ritual preparation areas. The top level, the one you're climbing toward, has the main temple. Only the high priest or priestess gets to go into that top temple. Everyone else stops at the platform just below. That's where you'll leave the offerings, where the priests will collect them, perform the necessary rituals, and then take them inside to feed the gods. You reach the top platform. The view is stunning. From up here, you can see the entire city spread out below, the grid of streets, the houses packed together, the city walls forming a protective circle. Beyond the walls, the green fields and the network of irrigation canals cutting through the brown landscape. Beyond that, the rivers winding their way south toward the Persian Gulf. You can also see other cities in the distance, just smudges on the horizon, but they're there. Other Sumerian city-states, Kish to the north, Uruk to the south, Lagash to the east, all of them built on the same model. Ziggurat in the centre, city around it, farmland beyond, canals everywhere, all of them competing for the same resources, the same water, the same land, the same trade routes, all of them sometimes at war with each other, but we'll get to that later. You set down the basket of bread in the designated area and head back down, up and down, up and down. Each trip you're carrying something different. Dates, figs, barley grain, oil, wine, if someone wealthy donated it. The temple accumulates massive quantities of stuff. They have to. They employ hundreds of people. Priests, administrators, scribes, craftsmen, servants, guards. All of them need to be fed. The temple is essentially a corporation, a very powerful, very wealthy corporation that also happens to commune with divine entities. On one of your trips down, you pass a group of student scribes sitting in the shade of the second platform. They're practicing their cuneiform on clay tablets. A teacher walks among them, correcting their work, occasionally smacking someone on the back of the head when they mess up. Sumerian education is not gentle. These kids, all boys from elite families, spend years learning to read and write. They memorize thousands of cuneiform signs. They practice writing on cheap clay tablets that can be smoothed over and reused. They learn mathematics, astronomy, religious texts, legal codes. It's brutal. There's this ancient text, basically a student's complaint letter, where he lists all the times he got beaten in a single day. For being late, for talking in class, for getting his writing wrong, for his handwriting being messy. The kid then asks his father to invite the headmaster over for dinner, gives the teacher gifts, and suddenly his writing is praised, and he's told he'll be a great scribe one day. First recorded case of apple polishing in human history. The teacher's walking past and he glances at you. Not in a friendly way, more like the way you'd glance at a piece of furniture. You're not in his social class, you're labour, he's educated elite. The distance between you and him is enormous. Sumer has a clear social hierarchy. At the top, the Ensi and his family. The Ensi is the political and religious leader. His name literally means the one who divides the temple land, because all land belongs to the gods and the Ensi manages it on their behalf. Just below the Ensi are the priests. They're the educated class. They can read and write. They understand astronomy and mathematics. They know the rituals. They interpret omens. They're also the doctors, by the way. When you get sick, you go to a priest. He'll diagnose you by examining your symptoms, maybe by reading signs from animal entrails, and then prescribe either herbal remedies or magical incantations, or both, usually both. Below the priests are the merchants and craftsmen, people with specialised skills, potters, metalworkers, weavers, jewellers. They're not wealthy, but they're comfortable. They own their workshops. They can afford decent houses. Then there are the farmers and labourers. That's you. That's most people. You work the land, maintain the canals, build the buildings, do the physical labour that keeps the city running. You get paid in rations, beer, bread, barley, sometimes dates or fish, just enough to survive. At the bottom are the slaves, people captured in war, criminals, or people who sold themselves into slavery to pay off debts. They have no rights. They're property. They work the worst jobs for no pay beyond basic food and shelter. And everyone, every single person in this hierarchy is terrified of the gods. You finish your transport work as the afternoon starts cooling. Well, cooling. It's still over 100 degrees, but at least it's not 120. Progress. The evening prayer ceremony is starting. A gong sounds from the top of the ziggurat. People start gathering in the courtyard. This happens every evening. A public ritual where the high priest offers the day's final sacrifices to the gods, prays for the city's prosperity, and updates everyone on any important news. You join the crowd, hundreds of people pressing into the courtyard. The air smells like humanity, sweat and smoke and onions, always the onions. The high priest appears on the top platform of the ziggurat. He's wearing his ceremonial robes, elaborate things with gold thread and precious stones. He raises his arms, the crowd quiets. He chants something in what might be an older form of Sumerian. You don't understand all the words, but you get the general idea. He's asking Enlil to bless the city, to provide water for the crops, to protect against enemies, to keep disease away, to make the harvest good, the usual requests. He sacrifices a lamb. Someone hands it to him. He performs the ritual, and the lamb becomes an offering to the gods. Its meat will be consumed by the priests, who will eat it on behalf of the gods, because that's how offerings work. Then he makes an announcement. The NC has declared that a new section of canal needs to be built. Work will begin next week. All able-bodied citizens will be required to participate. There will be extra beer rations. The crowd accepts this news with the enthusiasm of people who have no choice. More canal work. Great. But hey, extra beer, so there's that. The ceremony ends. People disperse. You head back toward your house through the maze of streets. The sun's setting now, painting the sky orange and red. The temperature's dropping fast. In a few hours, it'll actually be cold. Desert climates are like that. Extreme heat during the day, surprising cold at night. You pass a shrine to Inanna. Someone's left fresh flowers and a cup of beer. The flowers are already wilting in the heat. The beer's probably warm, but it's the thought that counts. The gods appreciate offerings, even sad ones, maybe especially sad ones, shows you're really trying. Near your house, there's a commotion. A small crowd has gathered. You push closer to see what's happening. There's a man on the ground, clearly injured. His leg is bent at a bad angle, broken probably. Someone's already sent for a priest doctor. This is bad, really bad. A broken leg in ancient Sumer is potentially a death sentence. If it heals wrong, you can't work. If you can't work, you can't eat. If infection sets in, which it often does, you die. The priest doctor arrives. He's carrying a bag of supplies. He examines the leg, makes some pronouncements about which god is responsible for the injury and why, then starts setting the bone. No anesthesia, no painkillers beyond maybe some beer. The man screams. Several people have to hold him down. The priest splints the leg with wooden sticks and cloth strips. He chants an incantation to drive away the demons causing the pain. He applies some kind of paste made from herbs and animal fat. Then he gives instructions to the man's family about care and feeding and prayer. The man might live, he might not. It's in the God's hands now, which is what the priest says. Everything is always in the God's hands. You continue home. Your family's preparing dinner. More barley, this time as a thick soup with lentils and onions. There's also fish, fresh fish from the river, grilled over the fire. This is actually pretty good by Sumerian standards. Protein is protein. You eat sitting in the courtyard. The stars are coming out. Without any artificial light, they're brilliant. The Milky Way is visible as a glowing band across the sky. The Sumerians have been studying these stars for generations. They've mapped constellations. They've tracked planetary movements. They've figured out how to predict eclipses. Not because they find it scientifically interesting, though they probably do, but because the stars are gods, or at least controlled by gods, and understanding their movements helps predict the gods' intentions. Everything comes back to the gods. After dinner, you sit and rest. Tomorrow will be another day of canal work, another day of heat and labour and survival. But right now, in this moment, with food in your stomach and your family around you and the cool night air finally providing relief from the day's heat, things are okay. Not good, just okay. And in ancient Sumer, okay is about as good as it gets. Morning comes again, because of course it does. You're back on canal duty, but today's different. The overseer pulls you aside after a few hours of digging, says they need someone to help the city scribes. They're doing an inventory of grain supplies and need extra hands to move the clay tablets around. You're basically going to be a filing cabinet, but hey, it's indoor work, anything to get out of the sun. The scribe school is attached to the temple complex naturally. Everything important happens near the ziggurat. You head there through streets that are already baking. It's maybe 2 hours past dawn and the temperature's climbing fast. By noon it'll be unbearable. By mid-afternoon deadly if you're not careful. Inside the scribe school, it's cooler. Not cool, but cooler. The thick mud brick walls keep some of the heat out. Small windows near the ceiling let in light without letting in too much sun. There's even a slight breeze moving through. The room is full of young men, hunched over clay tablets. Dozens of them, all writing. The sound is distinctive. Reed styluses pressing into wet clay, making little wet popping sounds. Scratch, press, pop. Scratch, press, pop, over and over. A teacher walks among them, hands behind his back, watching. He stops behind one student, looks at his work, and smacks him on the shoulder. Not hard, but not gentle either. Your signs are sloppy. Do it again. The kid smooths out his clay tablet with a wet rag and starts over. Welcome to Sumerian education, where mistakes are corrected with physical violence and everyone just accepts this as normal. Let me tell you about cuneiform writing, because it's genuinely bonkers. It started simple. About 5,000 years ago, temple officials needed to keep track of stuff. How many sheep in the temple flock? How much grain in storage? Who owed what taxes? So they used small clay tokens. 1 token equals 1 sheep. 10 tokens equals 10 sheep. Easy. Then someone had a brilliant idea. Instead of storing thousands of physical tokens, why not just press the tokens into soft clay to make an impression? Now you've got a permanent record without needing to warehouse all the tokens. From there, it evolved. People started drawing little pictures directly into the clay. A sheep looked like a sheep. Bread looked like bread. A person looked like, well, a stick figure person. That worked fine for simple stuff, but how do you draw go, or love, or angry? You can't just draw an emotion. So the Sumerians got creative. A picture of a foot meant foot, sure. But it could also mean walk, run, stand, go, movement. The same symbol could mean different things depending on context. Then they made the real leap. The symbols started representing sounds instead of just things. In Sumerian, the word ti means both arrow and life, so the symbol for arrow could be used anywhere the sound ti appeared, regardless of what the actual word meant. Boom, phonetic writing system. This meant you could write anything. Full sentences with grammar, tone, emotion, stories, laws, shopping lists, angry letters to your lazy brother, poetry, medical prescriptions, literally anything that could be spoken could now be written. The script looks like little wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay. That's why we call it cuneiform, from the Latin cunus, meaning wedge. The scribes use a reed stylus, cut at an angle, and press it into wet clay tablets. Here's the thing though, there are about 2,000 different cuneiform signs. 2,000, and that's just a start. Over time it got simplified to only 600 or so commonly used signs, but still, 600 symbols you need to memorize. Each symbol can have multiple meanings depending on context. Some symbols represent things, some represent sounds, some represent both, some represent syllables, some represent whole words. There's no consistent rule, you just have to memorize all of it. Which takes years. These kids started when they were maybe 7 years old. They'll be teenagers before they're competent, adults before they're actually skilled. It's brutal, but it's also your ticket to a better life. Scribes don't dig canals, they don't carry bricks. They sit inside, out of the heat, writing on tablets and managing accounts. They get paid better, they're respected, they're part of the educated elite. So parents who can afford it send their sons to scribe school, pay the tuition, accept the beatings as part of the process, hope their kid makes it through. Daughters don't usually attend. There are female scribes, the records prove it, but they're rare. Most scribes are men. Most educated people are men. Women mostly learn weaving, pottery, household management. Unless you're born into the priestly class, then maybe you get educated, maybe you become a priestess, maybe you end up running a temple. But for most women, life is about marriage, children, and keeping the household running. Not great, but again, this is 3000 BC. Gender equality won't be invented for another 5,000 years. The head scribe sees you and waves you over. He's older, maybe 50. That's ancient in Sumer. Most people don't make it past 40. He's got the characteristic scribe posture, shoulders slightly hunched from years of bending over tablets. You, can you count? You nod. Everyone in Sumer can count. You have to. Rations are measured. Work is tallied. Beer is counted. If you can't count, you get cheated. Good. Start moving these tablets to the storage room. Carefully, drop one and I'll have you beaten. He's not joking. These tablets represent records, legal documents, contracts, religious texts, temple accounts. They're valuable. More valuable than you are, frankly. You start moving them. Each tablet is about the size of your hand. They're heavy, solid clay, some are still slightly damp. Fresh records from this morning. Most are dried and hard. A few have been baked in a kiln to make them permanent. The tablets that get baked are the important ones. Legal codes, major contracts, religious texts. The rest just dry naturally. If they break or get damaged, they can be re-wet and recycled. Nothing goes to waste in Sumer. As you carry tablets, you glance at some of the texts. You can't read cuneiform, you're not educated, but you can recognize some symbols, numbers mostly, and your own name, which is basically the only thing most non-scribes can write. One tablet is an account of sheep. How many sheep the temple owns, how many were born this year, how many died, how many were sacrificed, how much wool they produced. Every single sheep is tracked. Another tablet is a contract. Someone borrowed grain from the temple. They have to pay it back after harvest, with interest. If they can't pay, their labor goes to the temple instead. It's all spelled out in careful cuneiform. Another tablet is a school exercise. A student practicing the same sign over and over, getting it wrong, trying again. The teacher's corrections are written at the bottom. Sloppy. Do better. You move tablets for an hour. Storage room to study room to archive, archive to priest's office. It's monotonous, but it's not physically demanding, and you're inside, out of the sun. Through the window, you can see the marketplace starting to come alive. Even though it's getting hotter, people need to trade, buy food, sell goods. Life continues despite the heat. The head scribe eventually releases you. That's enough. Go. You head out into the sun and immediately regret every decision that led you here. The heat hits like a physical wall. After an hour in the relative cool of the scribe school, the outside feels like walking into fire. The marketplace is pure chaos. Picture a large open area near the city gate. Now fill it with hundreds of people. Add wooden stalls and reed awnings for shade. Spread goods everywhere. Baskets of grain, hanging bundles of dried fish, clay pots of oil and honey, woven cloth, leather sandals, metal tools, jewelry, herbs, vegetables, live chickens in cages. Now add the noise. Everyone's shouting, vendors calling out their wares, buyers haggling prices, animals making animal sounds, children running around screaming, musicians playing for coins, someone's grinding grain with a stone mill. The scrape and thump of the grinding creates a rhythm under everything else. Add the smells: roasting meat, fresh bread, dried fish, rotting vegetables, sweat, animals, incense from a nearby shrine, leather being tanned, metalwork producing that distinctive hot metal smell. It's sensory overload. You need to buy onions, obviously. Your household is running low, which is basically an emergency, because what are you going to eat if you don't have onions? The vegetable seller sees you coming. She's middle-aged, sun-darkened skin, wearing a simple dress and a head covering to protect from the sun. Her stall has onions, leeks, garlic, cucumbers, lettuce, all grown in the fields outside the city. 2 bundles of onions, you say. She names a price. It's too high. You counter with a lower price. She acts offended. You start to walk away. She calls you back. You negotiate. Finally, you agree on a price that's probably closer to fair than either of your opening offers. You pay in barley. Most transactions in Sumer are done through barter or grain. Coins won't be invented for another couple thousand years, so you carry around grain, measure it out, trade it for goods. The seller weighs your barley on a balance scale to make sure you're not cheating her. Transaction complete. Nearby, a metal worker is showing off copper tools. Axes, chisels, knives. Copper is expensive. These tools are for wealthy buyers. You look anyway because they're impressive. Shiny, sharp, well made. The metal worker catches you looking. You want to buy? Can't afford it. He laughs. Nobody can. But they buy anyway. Come back when you have silver. Silver is currency for major transactions, land sales, large contracts, bribes. You've never held silver in your life. You probably never will. Next to the metalworker, a potter is selling clay vessels, jars for storage, cups for drinking, lamps for oil. Pottery is cheaper than metal, more accessible. Everyone needs pots. They crack, they break. You need new ones. A woman is examining a large storage jar, checking for cracks. She finds one, points it out, demands a lower price. The potter argues. She doesn't budge. He eventually agrees, grumbling. This is how the economy works. Small transactions, person to person, face to face. No written receipts for this stuff unless it's a major purchase that needs to be recorded on a clay tablet and witnessed by officials. Near the edge of the market, there's a beer cellar. This is what you really came for. Your household's beer supply is low. The cellar has large ceramic jars of beer covered with cloth to keep flies out. You can smell it from here. Sweet, yeasty, thick. How much for a full jar? She names the price. You don't bother negotiating. Beer prices are pretty standard. Everyone knows what beer costs. You hand over more barley and she fills your jar. You'll carry it home carefully because if you drop it and the beer spills, your family will murder you. While she's filling your jar, you notice a man at the next stall selling something unusual. Shells. Not local shells, exotic ones. Shells from far away. Probably the Persian Gulf Coast. Where'd you get those, you ask? Trader brought them from Dilmun, 3 weeks' journey. Beautiful, yes? Dilmun, the island the Sumerians believe they came from originally. Paradise, the home of the gods. It's also a real place you can sail to if you're brave or stupid enough to make the journey. Trade is huge in Sumer. The river valleys don't have much wood, no metals, no stone. Everything has to be imported, so traders travel up and down the rivers to the mountains, to the coast, bringing back timber from Lebanon, copper from Anatolia, shells from the Gulf, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan. People are trading goods across thousands of miles in 3000 BC. It's genuinely impressive. You buy your onions and beer and head home before the midday heat gets worse. Too late. It's already worse. The sun's directly overhead, no shadows, no shade except inside buildings. The air shimmers. The streets are almost empty. Anyone with sense is inside. You rush home. The beer jar is getting heavy. Your arms are tired. The onion bundles keep slipping, but you make it. The household's in the courtyard, sitting in what little shade exists. Someone's already prepared a midday meal. Bread, dried fish, dates, and now beer, thanks to you. You're a hero. You eat, you drink, you rest. Outside, the city goes quiet. This is the hottest part of the day. Even the birds stop singing. Even the dogs stop moving. Everything just stops and waits for the temperature to drop. You lean against the courtyard wall and close your eyes, just for a moment, just to rest. Your mind drifts, thinking about the scribes and their tablets, the marketplace chaos, the exotic shells from Dilmun, the copper tools you'll never afford, the beer you're drinking right now through a reed straw, thick and sweet and filling. Life in Sumer is hard, no question, but it's also life. People trade, people talk, people create, people survive. They've built cities in a desert, they've invented writing, they've developed agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, they've created art and music and poetry. They've also created massive inequality, brutal working conditions, and a religious system based on fear. So it's not all positive. but they're trying. Humans are always trying. Even 5,000 years ago, even in the brutal heat of Mesopotamia, people were figuring things out. Building, creating, surviving, and honestly, from your comfortable bed right now, with your climate control and your clean water, and your full stomach, and your complete lack of onion-based meals, you can appreciate their effort, even if you wouldn't want to live there. Not even for a day. The heat continues. The afternoon stretches. Time moves slowly when you're trying not to move at all. Eventually, someone suggests going to the river, the public bathing area. It's not far, and it's water, cooler than the air anyway. You go. The river's crowded. Everyone had the same idea. People are wading in, splashing each other, washing off the day's dust and sweat. Kids are playing. Women are washing clothes by beating them against rocks. Men are swimming to the deeper parts. The water's murky, brown with silt. Definitely not clean by modern standards, but it's wet and it's cooler than the air, and right now that's all that matters. You wade in up to your waist. The water feels amazing. The heat finally releases its grip on you. Your body temperature drops. Your breathing slows. You dunk your head under, hold your breath, come up gasping. Better, so much better. You stay in the water for a while, just existing, floating, watching the sky, watching other people do the same thing. This is life in ancient Sumer. Brutal heat followed by brief relief. Hard work followed by simple pleasures. Survival punctuated by moments where you remember why surviving is worth it. The sun starts dropping toward the horizon. The heat breaks. People start leaving the river, heading home for the evening meal. You follow, dripping, cooler, refreshed. Tomorrow you'll be back digging canals, but right now you're okay. And in Sumer, okay is pretty damn good. The next morning, something's different. You can feel it before you're fully awake. There's tension in the air. Voices outside aren't the usual lazy morning conversation. They're urgent, sharp. You get up fast. In the courtyard, your neighbours are gathered. Someone's talking quickly, gesturing. You catch fragments. Scouts reported yesterday. Kish is mobilizing. The Lugal says, "Oh no, war." Let me explain something about Sumer. There are roughly 20 city-states scattered across southern Mesopotamia, all within about 300 square miles. That's tiny. You can see neighbouring cities from your ziggurat's top platform on a clear day. All these cities need the same thing: water, from the same rivers, for the same fields, to feed the same growing populations. You see the problem. When one city builds a canal and diverts water upstream, the cities downstream get less water. Their crops suffer, people go hungry, tensions rise, diplomats fail, and eventually the Lugal calls up the army. The Lugal is different from the Ensi. The Ensi runs the city day to day, manages the temples, oversees the irrigation. He's administrator-in-chief. The Lugal, which literally means big man, is the war leader. When things get dangerous, when the city needs defending or attacking, the Legal takes over. Originally, the Legal was temporary, elected during emergencies. When the crisis passed, power returned to the Ensi and the Council of Elders. Democracy, sort of. Collective decision-making. But here's what happened. Wars kept happening. Crises kept emerging. The Lugal kept getting called up. Eventually, some Lugals just didn't give power back. They kept it, made it permanent, made it hereditary, passed it to their sons. That's how you get kings. Your city's Lugal is a guy named Mescalamdug, not the brightest torch in the temple, but he's big and he's mean and he knows how to swing a copper axe. More importantly, he's got the backing of the city's warriors and enough of the priests to legitimize his rule. Word is spreading fast through the city. Kish is preparing an attack. Kish, the city to the north, they've been aggressive lately. Their new king, some guy named Enma-Barajesi, has been expanding, conquering smaller cities, building an empire. Now he wants your water. By midday, the whole city knows. The Lugal has called an assembly in the ziggurat courtyard. Everyone's required to attend. When the Lugal summons, you show up. Period. The courtyard is packed. Thousands of people pressed together in the heat. The Lugal stands on the lower platform of the ziggurat, elevated enough that everyone can see him. He's wearing armor, bronze breastplate, leather kilt reinforced with metal studs, a copper helmet that gleams in the sun. He's trying to look impressive. It's working. Kish threatens our water, he shouts. His voice carries across the courtyard. They build their canals. They take what belongs to our gods. They starve our children. The crowd murmurs, angry, scared, both. We will not surrender. We will not beg. We will fight. Cheering.